Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It is Thursday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the US, and it is 1830 Zulu on August 29th, 2024. This is the Manufacturer Showcase brought to you by DX Engineering. And this is where we typically talk to our over 170 different manufacturers that we represent here at DX Engineering and then we sell and do technical support for. And today we have from DX Engineering, it's Mike KI8R. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Good, Tim. How you doing?
Good, good. Michael, you have spent some of your summertime thinking about handhelds and researching handhelds.
Yep.
Why don't you tell us what you've learned?
Okay, so we just released another video that I did concerning how to buy or how to pick your first HT. And so I went through in that video and talked about all the different things to think about if you want to buy an HT, and things like budget. Is an HT enough radio? Are you going to use the HT in your car, using the HT in your house, or as a portable radio? Single band, dual band, even tri-band radio, and how to look for reviews and whether or not you want digital mode. So lots of different topics to cover on making a decision about buying an HT.
So, and you can find this video on YouTube. You've already posted it there, Michael. And it looks like it goes for almost 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So you've got, tell us about the handhelds that you focused on.
Okay. So I didn't focus on a specific handheld because I wasn't trying to do that. But my point was to help people make a decision about which HT they want to buy. Particularly if you're interested in the digital modes, one of the things you want to think about is what are there repeaters near me that are digital, and what version of digital is it? Is it D-Star? Is it D-Star? Is it System Fusion? If you buy a handheld that has has one of these modes and you don't have a repeater to use it on, unless you own a hotspot, that can be, it just becomes an FM handheld at that point.
Right. So again, this is available on YouTube. Michael talking about various handhelds and some things to think about, Michael, when you're trying to make a decision, right?
Absolutely.
And you have some show and tell for us today. So show us what you've got back there on your shack table.
So I have an HT problem, Tim. I don't know anywhere to put it. I started my video with half a dozen handhelds in my hand, saying, "Is this too many?" And but I own a couple of the we'll call them budget handhelds, but the also I have the Yaesu FT70, I have the ICOM ID52, a Yaesu FT4. An Anytone ATD 878. So I've got all the digital modes covered, plus FM. They're all really good rigs, and I live out in the country, and so repeaters aren't as close to me as I'd like. Although there is one that's close enough to be used as a handheld, but it's still a lot of fun, and it's nice to have.
All right, so Michael, let's talk about some of those handhelds that you just showed, and we can have Katie go back to full size on you.
Sure.
Let's talk about the Anytone handheld. That's not a real well-known handheld. Tell us about that.
So the Anytone handheld, again, this is the DMR handheld, and the one thing I will say about this radio is, as I described to one customer, it has audio for days. It's probably the loudest, best speaker, probably the loudest audio amplifier of any handheld that I own. But as a DMR radio, it does a great job. I've had a lot of fun using it on DMR and talked to lots of different people with it.
All right. And so what are the advantages of DMR? For somebody who doesn't know about DMR, what's the difference between DMR and regular old FM?
Well, DMR is just one of the digital modes. And DMR originally was designed as a commercial mode by Motorola. And so hams, being hams, have adapted it into ham radio and have done a pretty good job. So it does in my personal opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, of the three modes, DMR, D-Star, Fusion, I prefer DMR just because I think it sounds the best. It sounds more natural to me than some of the other modes. But some other people might feel differently about that.
All right. So on the repeater side, Michael, of DMR, who is making DMR repeaters?
So there are plenty of Motorola's out there, there's Hytera's out there, and maybe some others. Bridgecom has a DMR repeater. So there are some others out there that are available to put up a DMR machine.
All right. And that Anytone handheld that you have, what frequencies does that work on?
So this is 2 meters and 440, and it does just great on those bands.
All right. And how many watts?
5 watts.
5 watts. All right. And I think you said you had 2 Yaesu handhelds.
So yeah, I have a Yaesu FT70.
All right. The FT70.
Which is again,
what bands?
This is 2 and 440 as well.
Okay.
This is also a C4FM or Yaesu Fusion radio. Okay. And then I also have the FT4X, which is a dual band handheld. Again, this is just a little tiny thing. But again, it's a dual band, 1 band at a time type radio.
Okay. And how many watts?
I think it's 5 watts as well.
5 watts. Okay. And I think maybe you had an ICOM.
So yeah, I have the ICOM ID52, which is the latest software from ICOM. And it's 2 and 440. Again, this is the D-Star radio.
Okay.
This honestly, as just an FM only radio, and I use it primarily on FM. But I really like this rig a lot. It's easy to use. It was easy to set up, and I use the RT System software to set it up, and it works really, really well.
Michael, the screen on that looks like it's tremendous. Can you turn that on?
Yeah, let me see. Hopefully the battery's charged. Yeah, it is. Okay, here we go. Come on. There we go. So I don't know how well you're going to see that. It may wash out, but the
nice.
It has a color. Screen. It has a nice big screen, color screen. It's not a touch screen, but it still does a nice job. It's easy to see.
And what kind of accessories do we have for these handhelds? The 4 handhelds that you just showed.
Depending on the handheld, we have speaker mics, headsets, drop-in chargers, extra batteries. In some cases, we may have little sleeves to put them in, soft cases, things like that.
And how about external antennas? Can all of them take external antennas?
Yeah, absolutely. All these radios have SMA connectors on them, and yeah, we'll take an SMA antenna.
All right, so let's talk about that SMA connector. Do you find that to be fragile, Michael?
I tend to be more careful with it than I did with like the old Yaesu FT208 that I had back in the day when I first bought my first handheld, which had a BNC connector on it. They are a little more fragile than that, but if you be careful, they'll do just fine. And
let's talk about the differences between 2 meters and 70 centimeters, between 144 megahertz and 440 megahertz when it comes to the handheld HT type coverage. I mean, you know, and getting into repeaters. How do
Yeah.
you find that?
So 440 is better in 2 meters in some ways in that it penetrates better. Um, and so if you're in your home or something, 440 tends to penetrate through the walls a little bit better. But of course, 440 being a shorter wavelength, it doesn't quite have as much range as 2 meters. But it really comes down to the repeater you're trying to access. What's the profile of that machine? And so that's one of the things that really drives that.
Right, right. And how about activity? Is there good activity on 70 centimeters?
I think it really is dependent on where you live. And so, VHF and UHF, there's still lots of activity, but again, it depends on where you live. The same way on 220. 220 has pockets of activity across the country as well.
Yeah, and I'm on the VHF contesting reflector, and on Tuesday nights they have an incredible activity night every Tuesday night that goes up and down the East Coast, and it's workable from Ohio and Western Pennsylvania as well. Michael, I had a question about your shack there.
Okay.
To the right of your computer monitors, looks like, is that 3 power supplies or what is that?
You're talking about back here or the other
Yes.
side? Okay.
Yeah.
So no, these are up here. There's 3 different Daiwa SWR meters underneath, three different speakers, and then
Okay.
the amplifier underneath.
Okay. So those are Daiwa meters in the SWR meters
Yes.
on the top shelf there.
Right.
Yeah. And what model numbers are those?
Let's see. These are CN 101s. Yes,
CN
CN
101.
101s.
Okay. And is that HF and VHF?
So 2 of them are HF and 2 meters. One is 2 and 440. There are 2 up to 220 and 440.
Okay.
And they're hooked to antennas that I have outside, and then I have behind me mobile radios for different for D-Star, Fusion, and then DMR as well as just regular FM here.
Okay. So you've got everything in there. Thinking about some of the adapters and so forth that go along with this. Of course, you got speakers and everything there as well. Um, Talking about thinking about ARES and being emergency ready. How do you feel your shack stacks up for ARES work?
Um, from operating from here, I feel like I'm ready to roll. I've got antennas that are high enough to access repeaters 30, 40 miles away. And so in that regard, I'm in good shape.
Yeah. Now, one of the handhelds that I thought, that you might have, and of course you may still have it there, but haven't shown it, is like the Kenwood 75. The D75 is a very popular handheld.
Yeah, I don't have a 75. I would dearly love to own one.
Yeah, I know it's expensive, but it's got
Yeah,
all sorts of features.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a very, very nice handheld. I got to play with one in the store last time I was up there. It was very nice.
And what about the new the ID52A and the anniversary units and so forth? What do
Yeah.
you think about those?
So the ID52, the new version that's coming, or the 2 new versions that are coming, both have USB-C, where this one does not. But the other thing is enhanced Bluetooth, I think, was the other big difference.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of exciting features and a lot of exciting times with UHF, VHF radios being introduced as well.
Yeah.
Michael, so you've got several videos for DX Engineering produced up on YouTube, and then also if we go to onallbands.com, put it all together. You've done a lot of blog work up there as well.
Yes.
Tell us
Yes.
about that.
So I've written some articles. A lot of times what I'll do is I will write an article and then it'll become a video. And so the two kind of work hand in hand. So I've written videos for our blogs for different things like HTs and various things like that. So
yeah, so we can find your writings on onallbands.com. If you haven't checked it out, you really need to, because almost every day a new article from one of our bloggers all around the world are loading up there, as well as our YouTube videos for DX Engineering. And then Michael is a frequent guest here as well. And if you're not a customer of DX Engineering yet, give us a shot. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. You can always call into the 800 number. You might get Michael. You might get KDV, Dave down there. You might get K8FF, Wayne. Any of N5TJ, K4RO, all the guys that are part of the DX Engineering team. And if you are a DX Engineering customer, I hope that you've been well pleased with delivery. We try to have everything possible on the shelf too, Michael, don't we?
Absolutely. We got plenty of things.
Yeah.
More things than I even know about. You have too much, a lot of stuff.
It's amazing. I just placed an order here about an hour ago, and I can't wait for tomorrow because it's just like Christmas every time the DX Engineering box comes in.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, thanks so much for being on today. It's always a joy. Thanks for giving back by giving your time to talk about handhelds. And of course, if you want to ask Michael a question directly, the best way is via email, dxengineering@dxengineering.com. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
All righty. And thanks to all of you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, where we're going to be live to the Charlie Yankee 9 Charlie DXpedition. We'll be live with K9CT and W0GJ and some of the other guys up there at St. Paul Island. So tune in, 4 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow afternoon. Until then, 73 from DX Engineering.
73.